everybody. Welcome to another edition of Your Right to Know with Tony DeFazio of DeFazio & Zeid. And today we're talking about something where schools are probably holding their breath because every student has a cell phone and every student has use of that cell phone. And there's this thing called sexting going on. And if it happens in school, it could be a major problem. And that's why Tony's here to talk about that. Could be a major problem.
Well, it's a big issue these days, especially in school districts, because just about every school district, the superintendents, the principals, all are afraid they're one step away from one of these scandals that you see in the nation nationally on a pretty regular basis. The first thing you got to understand, though, is what is the definition of pornography? And people may think they know what it is, but it's essentially, I'll give you the clean version. It's basically a picture of a person from the front below the waist. That's potentially pornography. Everything else is not. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about those type of pictures of children, because if you're over 18, it's legal. It's a First Amendment right, and people have the right to take pictures of whatever they want. But child pornography is not protected, and so that's where the issue comes in. Because what's happened now is with the modern era, with these cell phones and the pictures and the cameras on the phones, people take pictures of themselves and then they start emailing them around.
Right.
So now you've got an additional problem coming in, because it's not just dirty pictures anymore. It's just not pornographic pictures, but it's pictures that are sent on cell phones, which means they're on the internet, which means they're on computers, which means you're talking about now federal crimes.
Oh,
so now this is becoming a much more serious issue than as to whether you use email and who now is downloading this information. Because if anybody sees this information that's over the age of 18, now you can potentially be brought into this situation. So in a circumstance like this, if you are a parent and your kid's been doing this and you find it on the phone, you have to be very careful about how you act, because the ramifications of this type of behavior for your child are significant, and it goes beyond what happens just with the school district. I mean, the school has the right to suspend. The school has a right to prevent you from graduating, a lot of things from that nature. But there's a lot of other ramifications that people don't really understand. One of the most basic ones is that if you get this phone, and it's your child's phone, and there is pictures of other friends, children on it, and they're pornographic, if you take that picture and you download it, maybe to save it, or you try to send it to somebody like a teacher or a police officer and say, hey, look at this. What is this, or do I have a problem? You may be, just by doing that, committing a crime yourself, a federal crime. And people don't even realize this. The other thing is that they assume that they go to the police or they go to the authorities and that this will fix the problem, but in fact you may be making it worse. So in a situation like this, and my clearest recommendation would be, if you're in this situation, God forbid it happens, the first thing you got to do is speak to an attorney before you do anything, before you talk to anybody, before your child talks to anybody, before you hand over that phone. You better talk to an attorney, because what move you make is going to affect you, your family, and your child. Because the worst possible scenario is that these prosecutors have a lot of different ways that they can go with these type of cases. And I think the case out in Pennsylvania right now, the district attorney is making a decision. Who am I going to prosecute? And they're looking at who are the people who sent the pictures. Are any of them over the age of 18? Seniors in high school potentially, could be adults. And they have the ability to say, we're going to prosecute everybody, or we're not going to prosecute, and we're going to defer the cases. All those people could be in some serious trouble. They could be listed as sex offenders for the rest of their lives. And you think about it, you're an 18-year-old kid, and now you're a sex offender because you took a picture of your girlfriend, or you just sent one of another friend. You don't really even realize what you were doing. And now you're going to be basically put this sex offender registry on you for the rest of your life. And that's the way it's going. So you have to be very careful if the situation arises. If you hear about the situation, you need to get with if it happens in the school and your child goes to that school, you need to get with the child, you need to get the phone, you need to find out what's going on, and then you need to be quiet, and they have to stay quiet until you talk to an attorney.
Yeah, there's a lot of education that needs to go on in the way of texting with phones, and kids think that, it's just happening between the people who are involved, but once it's out there, it's out there, and it's out there forever. What about the school? Is the school liable of anything if anything happens? Are they in trouble? Could they get in trouble?
Well, you always have the possibility that the school's computers are being used to send this stuff on emails. You have the possibility that they're happening at their facilities, or that their teachers are somehow getting these pictures, not necessarily in a criminal manner, but they're being told about the problem, and if the teacher or the principal doesn't handle it the right way, they could be implicating themselves in a criminal act.
So what's the right right way to handle it?
So the right way, well, for the principals, and most of them have been taught at this point, is that if this happens and you hear about it, immediately they contact their attorney, and their attorney will walk them through the process. They can't do anything, and they won't do anything on their own. They wait for their attorney, and their attorney will tell them how to run the investigation. And then what will almost always happen is they're going to notify the police. And they'll let the police handle it because they're not law enforcement. They don't want to be dealing with it. They'll deal with the after effects of it, but they're not going to touch this stuff because they don't want to mess up a larger investigation.
Is there a solution for this? Is there a way to prevent it completely? Cell phones not in school, or?
Well, they tried that, and there was an issue in New York City. They had banned them for some years, but then the parents complained because the parents wanted to talk to their kids. I don't know if there is any way to deal with it. You have to educate your child, and you have to kind of hope for the best. I think there's nothing really else you can do when you're raising a child these days. Yeah. So, and that's really hasn't changed maybe since the beginning of time. You educate them the right way and hope for the best.
Right. Well, that's Tony DeFazio from DeFazio and Zeiden. That'll do it for this edition of Your Right to Know. We'll see you next time.